climate change itself, is it real? Is it fake? Is it a hoax? What's your take?
Well, of course, it's real. Anyone who tries to dispute that, they're just not paying attention or just wants to be contrary. My journey was more enhanced through my daughter. She was an environmental science major in her high school. So through learning from her and her independent studies and the steps that she took to have environmental consciousness and environmental health, we supported her on her journey. She was vegan for a stretch, and I was supportive of her and became vegan with her. Seeing her and her descriptions like, how can I not support this? If she's doing it, I can do my part to try to support her on her journey. You can't do it all. And I think in any sort of task or goal that people have, if it's too daunting at first, I'm not going to do it. I can't do it all. Just do a little bit. Just do your part, do a little bit each day or each week or each month, whatever that is. If you like meat, eat meat. If you like taking 20-minute showers, take 20-minute showers, but try to sacrifice somewhere else. Just do a little bit. Just do your part.
Energy. You think we'd be sick? I'm running out of energy. See, we use
What up, world? It's Legrand, hip-hop artist, climate activist. This is an episode of Keep That Same Green Energy. I've got I'll let him introduce himself. This is my guest for today. Guest, would you please introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Marc Ross. I'm Chris's younger brother. And I'm happy to be a part of the show. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for agreeing to be a part of it. So for the first part of this episode, we're going to ask the guest, in this case Marc Ross, to give a little introduction on how we met. Obviously, we're brothers, but maybe give a little bit of our childhood or things that you remember, or even some funny stories that you want to share.
Yeah.
And remember, I own the rights to cut some of the stuff out on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, I won't even tell the embarrassing stories because, as he said, he'll cut that out. So this is
ain't no embarrassing.
You're gonna get the PG version.
For me, ain't no embarrassing stories.
Sanitized versions of a story right now. But now, Chris and I we have our oldest brother and sister, and then there's a 10-year difference between Chris and Michelle, and then Chris and I are 2 years apart. So we essentially grew up together. We had the influence of our older siblings, of course, our parents, but we grew up together. Yeah. So we did everything together. Slept in the same bed. I used to pee on him, and he had bloody noses and stuff. And so we just went through it. But hey, that's siblings what siblings do. So we did everything together. Played, fought, wrestled. He do kung fu on me, so we just kind of did it all, and most importantly, he looked out for me. So he was always looking out for his baby bro. So that was always appreciated.
Yeah, you in one of the earlier takes we talked about the Legrand situation. Can you give a little? I thought his name was Legrand, but.
Yeah, he don't know what his name is after what happened. So yeah, as I said, Chris used to always look out for me. For some reason, this bull that lived on Hermasprota, that was the street around the corner from ours, Forrester Ave, and our babysitter used to be over there. I forget her name, but anyway,
Mary Ransom.
Mary Ransom, yeah, right? Yeah. But we was trying to go home. I don't know, Legrand was messing with me for some reason, and Chris was always looking out, and I was just trying to run, just trying to get up out of there. But for some reason, homie had a bike pump. Why he had a bike pump at the time, I don't know. But Chris like, leave my brother alone, and homie tried to swing the bike pump at Chris, and he did like this and just evaded the bike pump, and homie Legrand's back was against the tree, and Chris just started.
He just caught the two pieces.
He didn't try to go to the head, the hook. He just went straight to the body, and just worked that man's stomach, and he just kept hitting up against the tree as he was. Then he just slumped down. And we just rolled up out of there. We just rolled home. So that was just normal stuff that Chris would do. He was a little off, so he just snapped on the bull Legrand real quick.
Wow, that's crazy. But I definitely remember that. You often bring that up.
No, I vividly remember. You snapped. You blacked out. That's why you don't remember. I vividly remember that.
Hey, so like Marc explained, we spent a lot of time there. We're very close in age, very close, and Wrestling was his thing, kung fu was my thing. Whether it's black belt theater or wrestling. And one of the things I remember is so we had the one TV. It was in my mom's bedroom, and so like if we're watching football or any Saturday morning cartoons or anything like that, when the commercial comes on, it's going to go down. Like it'll be either he'll try to put me in a wrestling move or I'll try to do some kung fu shit on him, but if it's during the football game, like literally we would take like a pillow and just like, you just be trying to run through each other on the, like, it's like as soon as everybody be paused, and as soon as the commercial come on, we we just rumbling or whatever it is.
And that all started because our oldest brother, he'd be trying to coach. He thought he was a football player.
But I got to get him on the show. That's a separate.
He thought he was a player, so he's always trying to coach us. But speaking of the wrestling moves, so your greatest achievement with
here
that.
We go.
I don't know if y'all remember the Chappelle show when he had the Rick James skit where Charlie Murphy kicked Rick James through the thing. So he actually, this was way back. This is Kung Fu Theater, and he caught me one time, and our parents had these wooden sliding closet doors. And he caught me one time. Yeah, he put me right through the jaws. But revenge was fleeting. Best story was a couple weeks later, I plotted, and he was just sitting on the bed like this, watching his kung fu up. And I don't know if y'all remember the Iron Sheik. He did the camel clutch.
My God.
And he was in the perfect. I got up on it.
I thought for sure. I thought for sure it was over. but he probably knew I can't let him go because I'm coming after him. But that
was a regular. That was a day.
Yeah, we talked with each other up, but there were some times I thought we were going to kill each other, but nonetheless. But so we talked about a question that came from the audience or some that people emailed me, and we got to keep that same energy, whether we keep that same green energy or not. We got to keep the same energy. We got to be consistent. And so one of the questions that came up is, do we apply the same approach to P. Diddy's catalog as we do to R. Kelly's, as we did to Michael Jackson's? Should we keep the same energy? What's your opinion?
Of course, yeah. We can't, we can't let Diddy get away with that. I know it'll be hard on you not listening to 112.
Come on, man, don't do that
anymore. And
Biggie's gonna be a challenge, man.
Nah, just like R when he was going through it. I had cut R off for a while. My wife, unfortunately, and her friends was still supporting R. Kelly, trying to go to concerts. I would never drive them to the concert. Would never pick them up from the concert. Like, y'all on your own. I took a stand. Just like taking a stand with getting a climate, you had to take a stand on certain things. I took a stand. Y'all find your own way of getting there. No. Okay. So, but you got to apply the same thing to Diddy. There's certain non-negotiables that you just can't have.
The problem I have is
pedophilia. You just can't have.
No, but I get that. The challenge for me is, it's a significant catalog. Like that whole Bad Boys era, it's a lot of hits in there. Like, and listen, I'm agreeing. Like, I'm holding myself accountable to it. That's a lot of music we gotta throw away.
I'm good on it. There's plenty of other good ones out there. Just keep Biggie out of the frame.
No. Biggie's in there. Mary J, like everybody's in there.
I could do without Faith, Mary J. Biggie's exempt.
I don't know what you all think, but if you get a chance, go to keepthatsamegreenenergy.org and send in your comments and feedback. Do you think we should pause on the Diddy or Diddy's discography, just like we did for R. Kelly and others? You let us know. But now to the more serious part of the podcast. So we ask guests to give us their opinion, their perspective on climate change itself, and is it real? Is it fake? Is it a hoax? What do you think about it? And what's your take?
Well, of course, it's real. Anyone who tries to dispute that, they're just not paying attention or just wants to be contrary. So, for me, my journey was more so enhanced through my daughter, your niece, Skylar. We have one daughter, and she's a freshman at Princeton now. And her journey was, she was an environmental science major in her high school. She had to have a major in her high school, and she was an environmental science major. So through learning from her and her independent studies, but in her studies at school and the steps that she took to have environmental consciousness and environmental health, we supported her on her journey. I mean, she was vegan for a stretch, and I was supportive of her and became vegan with her. It's like, well, Dad, this is what's going on with cattle farms and with fishing and ruining. So I was like, wow, the ecosystem. So seeing her and her descriptions, like, how can I not support this 14, 15-year-old? If she's doing it, I can do my part to try to support her on her journey. So yes, hearing and seeing through her and learning from her and all the nuances. And the shirt I'm wearing, actually, Life Cap Farms, where at her senior year, she worked at an indoor organic mushroom farm.
Okay.
In Jersey City, and they grew mushrooms and supplied the best restaurants sort of in North Jersey with mushrooms.
Farm to table type?
Yeah. So she saw it firsthand, how to be organic and how to grow. And so I actually got to go into the indoor farm, and it was fascinating just seeing it firsthand. So, yeah, I'd like to say I'm conscious, but the enlightenment that I got from her was enhanced. It was more so of how I learned everything.
Yeah, and the one thing I appreciate with Skylar is she challenged my thinking of hydroponics before I got into it, and forced me to take my own medicine and get it and try it out and stuff like that. And it's been pretty fruitful. So I appreciate her for being the catalyst for that too. I think one of the things that inspired me to pick up the mantle about kind of climate action is, I was at a climate strike in Charlotte. This might have been 4 years ago. I left work and went to the place, and it was young kids, like kids at a middle school, and they're passionate and they're like tearing on stage. And we only got one word and crying and stuff. And I realized that this was my opinion, is that I failed that generation, because it's not like when we went to Holy Child and stuff like that. It's not like they weren't talking about climate change and the impact then, but in those 20, 30 years, what have I done to kind of counter it? And so now I'm like, you got a generation of kids that are like, we're doomed. We're doomed that the world's going to end in 2044 or 42, whatever it might be. And so you can imagine how life looks to them when they're like, they're looking at it as a very finite end of my life. And so when we talk about how the youth don't respect other people's lives, a lot of that is driven by, it's existentially, they don't think that they don't have the same trajectory that we do. And so I said, listen, I'll do whatever I can do. Maybe the youth don't necessarily gravitate to what I'm saying. There are more people our age that feel the same way I do. Here's a platform you can come on and educate others, and let's try to do it. And I think in our earlier discussion, it was more about, let's not try to solve it. Let's not try to solve it overnight, right? Let's just everybody commit to doing one thing, and then eventually we'll get the climate action that we need, or pressure the powers that be to do more, right, than what they're doing. So it sounds like Skylar has already gotten you to take a pledge. I typically will ask guests to take a pledge to do one thing.
I think we try to live our lives in an environmentally conscious way, and of course there's some aspects that we do not, but you can't do it all. And I think in any sort of task or goal that people have, if it's too daunting at first, like, well, I'm not going to do it.
Right.
Well, I can't do it all. So why just do a little bit. Just do your part. Do a little bit. each day or each week or each month, whatever that is, and one aspect of
Correct.
of whatever that is. You know, if you like meat, eat meat. Let's cut something else out or try something else. If you like taking 20-minute showers, take 20-minute showers, but try to sacrifice somewhere else. And I think that's sort of the sacrifices you make on one end. If you like something else, just do a little bit.
Yeah.
Just do your part.
Yeah, and just be intentional, and like I said, it's just the little things that add up. But and one thing I wanted to be transparent about, like, if somebody's a climate activist and I'm really big on sustainability and stuff like that, like, recycling was a struggle for me because you're separating stuff, blah blah blah, but you know in your mind a lot of the stuff is going to a landfill. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, so I got to the point where I was like, why don't I just dig a hole in my own yard and throw the trash in and skip the middleman instead? Like, because we're just playing a game. Like, you know, we're just playing a game. So I was one that had to really look inward about recycling and just say, you know what, it's bigger than just the separation and stuff like that. And if it's ultimately going to go to a landfill.
Well, that was a lesson that we learned when we moved back to Philly. When we were in Jersey, we always recycled. That was always a part of it. Different cans, different days, all that kind of stuff. We moved back to Philly. We had a recycling bin. We had a regular bin. We thought it was different, and we were conscious about the two separate trash cans. And then, I guess after a month of living here, and I'm just looking out the window, see the trash bulls come up, and they trash only, boom. Recycle only, boom! All in the same. It's all in the same
place.
And I talked to my wife and said,
"What are we doing?
Well, we did.
What are we doing?"
And then come later to find out that before the trash recycling used to be sent to China, and now they're not taking it anymore. And so it's okay. Where is this going? Well, it's just going to a landfill, and it's all going to the same place. So don't waste your time in recycling. And we actually have people in our complex that still want to do it, and the HOA is like, we can't. There's nowhere to send it. We have no companies that want to take it. There's nowhere to send it. Just throw it all in there together.
So there's and when you think about the plastics piece of that, I'm seeing some. I've been recently seeing some commercials and stuff about plastics.org is starting to talk about, like, they're really concentrating on ways that they can make the plastic recyclable and kind of, you know, create a sustainable way of plastic, because plastic is the biggest issue, right? So yeah, we just got to keep our foot on the gas for reaching out and getting legislation and trying to support plastics figuring out a way to create recyclable plastics, even down to the pellets. I think shout out to PureCycle. PureCycle's doing a process where at 5 plastics they're able to get it down to pellets and then reproduce those pellets. So that's at least one vendor that's trying to do some big things. But you said it, like, we just got to commit to do one thing and build from there. So just one of the things I wanted to say is I definitely appreciate my brother. You know, he's talked about how I've looked out for him, but he's looked out for me. He's been supportive of all the ventures that I've done. He's never wavered in support, and I love you, bro. Appreciate you for that.
You too, man.
And he is very rarely is he humble, but he is very humble in downplaying his sport ability as a kid. I mean, he was definitely a multi-sport athlete, and he was phenomenal. He was probably better in basketball than he was in football, but football was just the one that
was the call.
It was the calling to get you to where you are and where you are. And I don't say this to a lot of people, but Mark is one of those folks where he was predestined to do what he's doing in the NFL and in football. And I'll tell you, most people don't know this. He used to study. He used to study the cards, the sports cards, like the gum would come in, or the trading cards. He would study them and be able to recite stats from the back of the cards. Right. That's phenomenal in itself as a kid. Right. Most kids are talking about cartoons and Star Wars and shit. he was quoting the stats. Then you add the fact that before there was techno and football, there was a game called NFL Strategy.
I forgot about that.
Where you played NFL Strategy by putting these transparencies together about X's and O's. This as a kid, and it was like chess the way he was playing the game. So when I tell you that, like, there's people out there that might think that it was Princeton, they might think that it was UMass or whatever. He was predestined to do this from very, very young. Like, even when we were doing 80, 90-pound football, obviously he was a lot heavier because he was fat. He was very fat then. So he was like in 90 pounds and I was in like 70 pounds. But even back then, he was understanding football on a strategic level that is equivalent to like chess mastery. So, he won't say that. He won't say that. But every chance I get, I'm ringing the bell to say that, it's not a fluke. It's not an accident that he is where he is. And, God preordained that, man. And that's one thing that nobody can take away from you.
Thank you.
So there's something else that you don't have to be humble about.
Yeah, thank you. Keep it going. Nah, thank you, man, bro. I appreciate
it. At this point, this is my favorite segment, I guess, of the podcast episode, and that is the spill bars or fill jars portion. So we ask all our guests to give us a song that either reminds you of Legrand or is reminiscent of Legrand or makes you think of him, and or even Climate Action. And I believe you chose the album.
Yeah, well, look, just earlier talked about we did everything together. We listened to music together. That was the soundtrack of our life. Was listening to hip hop when we were young, and I could have went many different directions with this. I could have went PE, could have went KRS-One, could have went Ghetto Boys. I could have went anywhere with this, but I chose Ultramagnetic MCs and Ego Tripping just because everyone was listening to those other ones, but not many people was listening to Ultra Mag. I mean, they had their lane, but it wasn't this lane up. It wasn't a highway. It's 76 or 95, going over the Walt Whitman Bridge like most of the other people. It had a nice little lane around here, especially in Philly. So we always bonded, particularly on Cool Keith and his unique bars, and Eagle Tripping, just. The same old beat, the same.
Well, no, the funniest thing is, I think in Philly, everybody thought they would call MCs Ultra because the way that the hook goes, it's like MCs Ultra, magnetic, MCs Ultra. So, play the MCs Ultra. Like, what are you talking about? But I think the thing that stood out, we talked about this even as kids, with Cool Keith, like, he would do a whole verse where the whole verse didn't rhyme. Yeah. But you still memorized. Exactly. You memorized it just because the cadence, the way it flowed, it was just him and Seji were just geniuses. So I appreciate you for at least offering that Ultra Mag up. But the intent is to take that song, chop it up in the MP. Here's my new MPC Key 37 tour that I just got this year. And chop it up and create a new song, and we use that song to either freestyle over, or if the guest doesn't want to freestyle, and they can say something written, or they can write a check. They can write a check and donate to one of the nonprofits that we support for climate action.
Well, you already know I'm not rhyming, and another, I'll write the check. I'll do that. I don't mind contributing.
Okay.
Well, just as you know that it's the MP3 back in the day. Another thing we used to do. Chris used to rhyme. He was always an MC, and we had one of our neighbors down the street, Big Will.
Rest in peace,
Big Will, and he used to rhyme as well, different flows, but I had a little Casio keyboard. I used to take piano lessons, and I had a Casio keyboard, and I used to lay down the beats for them. I was the pre-Kanye.
He said, lay down the beats.
I was the pre-Kanye. I missed my calling. I used to wear them out in sports.
Oh, my God.
And then I was the musician as well, but I wanted them to have their lane. So I stepped away from the music game and let Chris have that, while I focused on the sports end of it. But this reminds me of the Casio. So I never was the rhyme fest. I was always on the keyboard.
No, you definitely. I mean, we both took piano lessons in Catholic school, but obviously we spent a lot more time with the piano than I did. So thank you all out there for watching this episode of Keep That Same Green Energy, this podcast. Stay tuned. Visit keepthatsamegreenenergy.org. Sign up and just stay tuned. We got more episodes coming. Thank you, bro.
Appreciate it. Yeah,
Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank everybody out there. Right. God bless.
With some pep in the step. With some pep in the step. Should I freestyle or write some? You asked me to spark the cipher, I'll ignite one. I got time today, you got the right one. I can get any rapper slump for a light sum. Throwing shots at me, best be with some white rum. Either way, coming for me is quite dumb. All I need is a few chords and tight drums. I'll extend my right pinky, then my right thumb. To all this industry bullshit, I'm quite numb. Keep the same green energy, you enlighten them. I've been about that climate action, been fighting them. When I see my ops, they take flight and run until I put the sight to gun, pull it and I might get one. I put a stop to all that culture vulture swag. Shout to Said G and Cool Key from Ultra Mag. Ops will never stop me from getting the Ultra bag.
The energy, see we use an awful lot. Energy, you think we'd be sick, I'm right.